Hello again, I'm Mighty, and we're going to keep talking about Guns of Icarus. This is the second match from our night that we played last week, which was wicked fun for all involved. So in this match, I've actually changed the loadout of my junker. I've traded the flak cannons, the Echidna Light flak cannons, for Skiller double-barreled mortars. They are closer range and they are more difficult to target, but they do more damage, basically. Now, my crew's changed slightly. I don't have Traeth as my other engineer anymore. I have a Ballad of Pudding Quest, or Skyborn Pudding. And while we spend a bit of time at the start with Jhett just observing my hat and being jealous of my sweet stoush, I have to inform the other captain, SteelGrin, of this. And then it looks like we're just floating around at this point in time, but I do spend a bit of time explaining to Jhett and putting sort of what I need them to do as the Capitan. The general plan is that Pudding, I've recommended him to use a buff hammer loadout. So the buff hammer is a item that anyone can take, but engineers should generally be the only ones taking it. And what that is you basically get your buff hammer and you beat the crap out of a component with it, and that will apply a buff to it over a certain amount of time. When you look at the actual interface for the component, you'll have a little bar on the left that'll fill up as you buff it. And then when you do fill that bar all the way up, the buff begins, and you'll see a bar just like emptying on the right side of the reticle, and that'll show you the duration of the buff. It's a lot shorter on guns than it is on other components. You can generally buff the balloon and the engines for your ship early on, and then you usually just don't have to worry about it for like another 3 or 4 minutes. Whereas with your guns, those buffs only ever last about maybe 10-12 seconds. So if it's a really heavy gun with a long reload, you only ever really get 1 or 2 great volleys out of it, and then that's it. What you can do with it though is you can kind of pre-buff everything. So especially with the guns, you run up to it, you mash it with the hammer until it's just like 1 or 2 taps away from being buffed, and then you wait until then you come back to it when you actually need it, tap it with the buff hammer, and then you've got the gun buffed for your use for the duration that you're going to be firing it, which is pretty great. So the map that we're playing on is Canyon Ambush. It's really cool close range one, so this is what we've done. I've started out by sinking my ship quite low to the bottom, and the idea here is that it's sort of covering verticality in the game so that people might not be looking beneath them. My partner captain is SteelGrin on his Galleon, Rock the Boat. We are taking on the Flying Hypeman, which is Pixxul Squid, and the Corvus, which is Noejun's Pyramidion.
Flying Hypeman is flying high in the sky.
So my ruse has paid off. The Flying Hypeman is pretty much directly above us, and we rise from the depths. I pretty much can just turn to have him in our arcs as we come up, and our gunners are ready to go. Pudding just opens up on him with the buffed chain gun. He's using greased ammo as well, which is really good on the chain gun. It reloads it faster. It does reduce the damage of the bullets themselves, but you have a larger clip that fires faster, so it kind of makes up for itself. And you can see Jhett firing the mortar as well, getting the little hit markers. We basically scare off the flying squid. Now, that was a brilliant ruse on their part, because the Corvus was able to come up from behind the Rock the Boat to put a lot of damage in, and we move in to basically turn our arcs on Corvus so that we can try and rescue our partner from it.
We've been hit hard.
He takes a bit of punishment from there, and then the second round of our fire just does so much work. So the chain gun's got the armor down, the mortar's hitting the hull, and it's gone, just like that. That's how the armor interactions work. So the chain gun's really good at taking out hull armor. That's what all the little yellow hit markers are. And then when the hull armor is dead and you're dealing direct damage to the ship's health, that's when you start seeing the red hit markers. And for when you're identifying the hit markers, a yellow one means that someone on your boat made that hit. And if you see a yellow one that's full, it means it's one that you personally hit. So you can see our Flying Hypeman was taking damage from Rock the Boat, but we didn't see hit markers. This time we have. And when you see the mortar hits coming in from Jhett firing on the mortars, you'll see that you get little clumps of like 3.
This thing kicks butt.
And that's the AoE damage from those mortars. So it actually hits multiple components if you strike the right area. You can use burst rounds on the weapon to make it hit a larger area. So if you use burst rounds on something like a SASWhulture, you can almost disable an entire ship in one volley. Now in this bit I goofed. What I should have done instead of hitting a mountain is I should have turned the ship over to the starboard a bit and got the gunners on the port side so that we could just come up behind the Squid and get them. But as it turns out, Corvus came back for more and wanted to have a go at our ally, so we move in to help. And as you can see, I've got both my gunners already, Pudding and Jhett are ready. And there's the armor down from the chain gun, and that's the end of that ship. So when you and that's Noejun experiencing the sharp end of that. So basically the idea there is that was a really good, so to speak, 1-2 punch. You get in, you get his armor down, and then you've got another explosive weapon that'll take the actual hull health down, because weapons that strip armor don't do as much damage to the health of the hull.
That was ominous. I've got them.
So we're 2 kills up. So this game mode is deathmatch, first to 5. So our team is currently 2 kills up, and we are trying to sneak our way around in the canyons again. We still got the Squid flying around. He got away from us, so we have to find out where he went. I think our AI gunner takes a few pot shots up at the sky here, so we sneak around to check it out.
Something to the northeast.
But then someone spots the Corvus. And we pull up the map. Yep. Enemies show up on the map. The Corvus is there in the middle there. We don't know where the Squid is, so we'll go for the Corvus. Now the Corvus is one that's got a bit more of the kill potential. The Squid's only got like the shotgun and the flamers. Those are more disabling weapons. They're not going to outright kill you. They will make it hard for you, but they won't kill you as fast as something like the setup that I'm using. So in this section I use Moonshine, which is a speed boost. It pretty much kills your engines. Mine are down to half health from that very small burn. But we do manage to get the gun arcs on Corvus, and unfortunately what happens here is my maneuvering of the ship threw off Jhett's aim with mortar. So we could have probably finished the ship off in that, but because I was rising, it threw off the aim and turning at some point. It threw off the projectiles. So whenever you're firing anything but the chain gun. The chain gun's a raycast weapon, so it's basically a hit scan. The bullet travel time is more or less cosmetic, but most of the other weapons use ballistic trajectories. So when you are turning the ship, or if the ship's going up or the ship's going down, the projectiles that you fire will inherit the momentum of your vessel. And that's something that you have to be careful with if you're using like a very fine weapon like the mercury field gun. It requires that you have basically a steady ship so that you can aim true, because you only get 1 or 2 shots per clip, and if you miss they really suck. So at this point we know that we've put a whole bunch of damage onto the Corvus, and so the Squid is currently causing some trouble for our ally, because Squids can cause a lot of trouble for Galleons, especially one like the Flying Hypeman, because he has got the Barking Dog Cannonade, which does a lot of shotgun sort of damage. It really kills balloons, and he's also got a flamer somewhere. And that sort of damage against the Galleon, because Galleons have got weak balloons. So he could, in theory, just run up to the Galleon, shred their balloon, the Galleon falls to the ground, and then just grinds on the ground until they die. It's, you only have to kill one thing, and that's the balloon. But we're a little bit wise to this. So we try and put a bit of pressure on the Flying Hypeman, and that's our combo working really well there. As soon as the armor goes down, if the gunner is able to get the mortar shots in, it does so much damage. What this sort of system does require is a lot of discipline from your gunners. Whoever's using your explosive weapon, so Jhett on the bottom level there, or Blackfeather, he has to watch for the hull armor on the other ship to get destroyed before he starts shooting for maximum effect. Or I could crash into a mountain. I mean, that's also perfectly valid strategy, and I don't think they were expecting it. So, you know, as you can see, the Corvus is retreating as fast as he can because of our amazing mountain crashing skills, which he just totally wasn't ready for. Now in this particular case, we're trying to chase the Corvus. He's going full astern, which is a good thing to do for his ship because he's got 2 front-facing guns. The chain gun that he's got keeps chipping away at our armor. I've got the AI engineer just set to repair all the things, so he runs around and deals with all the problems that I create from using the various pilot items.
He's trying to flank us.
We've got arcs with our starboard guns. We could turn to get arcs with our port guns, but at this point in time the Corvus has actually got us where he wants us, so we need to change our plan because we could get him if we can catch him, but that would mean burning our engines and possibly leaving ourselves dead in the water, so to speak. As it is, another opportunity arises. The Flying Hypeman is again trying to put some hustle onto our allies' Galleon. And with the Corvus constantly retreating, we can pretty much change our mind and try and put damage on this Squid here. So he hits us from the front there with the flat cannon. And then the flamer gets us on the side there, so that's a bit dangerous. But because we are so close and we do have the 2 guys on the guns ready as he comes around, we can put a fair bit of damage on him, force his engineers to do something. He loses a bit of gunning potential because at least one of his gunners will have to turn to be an engineer. The Corvus has chosen this moment to come and get all up in our grill, yo. So I basically turn the ship around. We're actually in pretty good nick, so both of our gunners, Pudding and Jhett, can still coordinate. And then Pudding puts the damage on the Flying Hypeman, on the Corvus, with Jhett on the mortars. Now, this is one of the great things about the Junker. You have equal coverage on your guns on each side. So the enemy flew underneath us, we don't even have to turn the ship. The gunners just move to the other side of the ship. It's like 5 steps, and you're still firing at full capacity again. Bang, bang, bang. And that's the last kill that we need to win. And there's our crew standing victorious in front of the Junker's console with a no-clip camera. It's amazing. So that was our second match for the night, which everyone had a great time, I hope. And that was a good night. I know it looks a bit stompy, but I think everyone really is learning very well and starting to fly quite scarily. So let's see this again in future sometime. Have a good one, guys. Be excellent to each other.